Trade talks intensifying between the Rams and another team for a key piece, star cornerback that makes the Rams defense unstoppable heading into next season and to be even more of a Super Bowl contender than they already are. Welcome back to another episode of Rams Digest. I am your host, Joshua Finehirsh. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel. We are less than 30 away from hitting that big goal of 3,000 subscribers by draft day this Thursday. Please hit it. We have a big thing coming for you on draft night, so stay tuned for a massive announcement, a big expansion of the channel coming soon. So hit that subscribe button, hit the bell so you do not miss any new Rams coverage, daily videos leading up to the draft, post-draft, and the season. Now to the key story of today. The Rams have been linked to a star corner in trade talks just before the draft. And the Los Angeles Rams are in the market for cornerback help and will almost certainly address this position in the NFL draft this week. There's a possibility that they will add a playmaker outside of the draft as well. Dolphins cornerback, former Ram, Jalen Ramsey, is on the trade block after he and the team mutually agreed to seek a deal. The Dolphins have yet to find a trade partner, but there's a chance that this move will happen at some point soon. And Jalen Ramsey, Rams are very familiar with him. He was a Ram from 2019 to 2022, was on the team that won the Super Bowl in the 2021 season, made 2 first-team All-Pros, made 3 Pro Bowls with the team, really spent a lot of the prime of his career as a Ram, a key part of that Super Bowl winning defense. As I said, he has the playoff experience, and he is that number 1 corner that the Rams are currently missing on their roster right now. He knows Chris Shula. He was on the team the first year that Chris Shula was on the defensive staff, so the adjustment to the system should not be too difficult here. And Les Snead and Sean McVay have already spoke about the possibility of acquiring McVay during a pre-draft press conference today, and neither of them have ruled it out. In fact, Snead said that he's had discussions with the Dolphins about a deal, meaning that Rams GM, Les Snead, and Dolphins GM Chris Greer have already started talking about this deal. And it looks like that this is a real possibility that this will be happening, within, a pretty soon time frame. And this is big for both teams. Obviously, for the Dolphins, they will lose their star corner, and the Rams pick up a star corner. But both Les Snead and Sean McVay had some words about a potential deal coming here soon. And here, according to Les Snead, I know I've had discussions with Miami, so we discussed getting through the draft. I know there's a lot of nuances to that situation based on all the things that come with the trade, contracts, and things like that. So not sure where they're at in the process. And what's interesting in this is a lot of teams right now are focused on the draft. But this is when a lot of teams reach out. Not just Jalen. Oh, by the way, how things going in the draft, there's other players that could be available. So you almost come back to a second free agency per se. You get with your pro scouting staff and kind of figure out the trades are made and it's player for player and things like that. So that's all part of the process. So whether it be Miami and Jalen, I could say there's a lot of teams with other players that I'll keep in-house. Basically, what Les Snead is saying is that he has had talks with Miami general manager Chris Greer, but he's also saying that there's other players that the Rams could be looking at, other teams as well. And I love his point about the second free agency. That's not really talked about a lot. There's a lot of, very talented free agents left, especially at the receiver position with, Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, 2 veterans that can help out any contending team. Maybe those are some players that Les Snead has been talking to and thinking about signing. They would both fit very well with the Rams this year. And again, this makes a lot of sense. Go through the draft. There's no rush in trading for Jalen Ramsey with the way the Rams roster is right now. He's doing his due diligence. So are the Dolphins. This is the correct way to go about a trade. And now if you look at Sean McVay is also open to bringing back Ramsey, though he has admitted there's a lot of layers to it because they didn't really get along in that 2022 season where Ramsey asked out after the injury-riddled season for the Rams. And this is what McVay had to say on that. Yeah, he's a great player. We know him very well. We know him intimately. He would certainly never rule out the possibility of that, but I think, like Les articulated, our focus and concentration is on this week's upcoming draft, and there's a lot of layers that would need to be worked out with a player of his magnitude, and some of the different things that accompany that. But you would never eliminate the possibility of adding a total stud and a guy that can do a lot of different things, like he's continued to do, like he did here, like he did in Jacksonville, like he's done for the last couple of years in Miami. So Sean McVay here is basically just complimenting Jalen Ramsey as we should. One of the best corners of the last 25 years. Really, throughout his NFL career. Last year, he had a bit of a down year. Only 2 picks. He did have 11 passes defense. That is his thing. He's not necessarily, a huge interceptions type of guy. Now, this trade, I don't want it to be too expensive for the Rams. And by the looks of it, Ramsey just signed an extension with the Dolphins last offseason, which is worth $72.1 million for 3 years. That deal will kick in starting in 2026, so it's a hefty contract for the Rams to take on. They do have the draft capital to make a trade work, including 2 third-round picks. Financially, it would be tricky to fit him under the cap. The Rams do still have over $10 million left of cap space, but with this big contract, that would pretty much fill it up entirely for the next few seasons. Ramsey is 30 years old, meaning that a decline could be coming soon. Like last year, 2023, he missed time with that knee injury. However, for the rest of that season, he was absolutely amazing. And I'd love to hear what you have to say down below. Comment right now whether you think the Rams should trade for Jalen Ramsey, and if they do, what you think a trade package could be. For reference, when the Rams traded Ramsey in January of 2023, they traded him for a third-round pick and a tight end, Hunter Long. Hunter Long didn't really do too much with the Rams. So for this, right now, I would say that the value for Ramsey is still probably around a third-round pick. I think that's fair. Maybe do a third-round pick, and that's really it for Ramsey, just because he is 30. He's had some disgruntled endings with franchises before, like Jacksonville, LA, and now Miami, and it seems to be when teams aren't winning, which I understand. Athletes want to win. I'm a competitor myself with everything I do. I love to win. Who doesn't? And if you like winning, like this video. If you like this video, you will win at anything, at everything. So please, like this video. And for Jalen Ramsey, he's going to a place where he can win. And I want him to be engaged. I want him to be focused, and for him to make sacrifices that lead to winning. And I believe Sean McVay can make that happen. Now, if the Rams don't trade for Jalen Ramsey, what should they do? Obviously, in the draft, you heard my co-host Josh talk yesterday about them drafting Trey Amos, who is someone I'm really high on. However, PFF believes that there's a new way that the Rams could get an elite corner as a backup option, which is very important since the Ramsey trade is still in its very early talks right now. And as it says here, the Rams currently sit at the number 26 pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. Too early to reach on day 2 players, but too late to grab that sort of blue chip prospect in that top half. However, they are in a good position to move throughout the draft board, depending on what player they're interested in. Some have speculated the Rams are a good trade back candidate, like we talked about a couple of videos ago. The team's lack of needs and a second-round pick, while others think the Rams should ensure they grab a top target by moving up. This is a very interesting debate right here about what they should do. Depending on who the player is, I do believe that they can trade up as long as the price is not too steep, which we're about to get into. And here's a trade option. The Rams move up to number 15 with the Falcons. This scenario, the Rams will trade their first-round pick, number 26, pick 127 in the 4th round, as well as a second-rounder in 2026 to the Atlanta Falcons for the 15th pick. It's a bold move, and one that Valentine from PFF writes would be to draft Texas A&M edge rusher Shamar Stewart, or Boston College edge rusher Donovan Ezekuru, or Michigan tight end Colston Loveland. Now, read the bottom part. This is what intrigued me about this trade. The other 3 players, I'm all high on. They're all good players. However, I think it's a little high for all of them in this draft. If Michigan cornerback Will Johnson falls to 15, the Falcons already have enough corners. They don't need him. The Rams could even trade up to get him at 15. That is what I'm interested in. Will Johnson is my number 1 corner in this draft. And Valentine writes in this article, the Rams roster is in good shape, and the front office has done an excellent job of mitigating Aaron Donald's early retirement by adding numerous pass rushing options. And with this trade for the Falcons, the Rams move up to the 15th pick and they might not be done. I disagree with the Rams trading up twice. If the Rams trade up to 15, it should be to take Will Johnson. Will Johnson, my number one corner in this draft. The mock draft I did a few days ago that I keep referencing for fun, I had Will Johnson going to the Niners at 11. So in this scenario, the Niners don't take Will Johnson, although the Niners definitely need some defensive back help. And he falls to 15. This is an amazing trade-up option for the Rams. However, Will Howard has had some injury issues that we will get into, here. And based on this, the Rams would really have to covet a player to make this move. I agree. It will leave the Rams without a fourth-round pick in 2025 and without a second-rounder for a consecutive season next year. But the Rams aren't afraid to make wild moves, as we've seen in the past. And this one could support a Super Bowl push this season if the player pans out. It also makes sense that the Rams would make a move with the Falcons, who just signed a Rams assistant, Raheem Morris, as their head coach. Yeah, Raheem Morris has a good relationship with the Rams. He left under his own volition. No beef between him and the organization. I have a lot of respect for him as a fan as well. He did a great job leading the defense, wishing him the best of luck in Atlanta. Yeah, I think they should really, really covet Will Johnson. He is my top corner in this draft. He's 6'2", he's 194, over 9-inch hands. However, he has had injury issues. In October, he suffered a turf toe injury, which caused him to miss the entire year. And according to the draft wire, he reportedly couldn't run for months because, as part of his toe injury, he tore some ligaments. He had some leg injuries in 2023, where he didn't miss too much time, so the red flags weren't there. Johnson, before his injuries this year, was a consensus top 5 pick. He had 2 interceptions this past year, however, 6 in 2023. With 3 pick sixes, Johnson holds the Michigan record in pick sixes. As well, he was a third-team All-American this year, despite him missing half of the season. He also had a shoulder injury against USC, where he did not miss any time. However, Will Johnson has a lot of strengths as a prospect. He's big, smooth, and instinctive. He races downhill to strike pass catches with force, meaning he's a good tackler. He's able to hit hard. He reads the passer well and anticipates routes for takeaways. His pre-snap recognition makes it seem like he's in the offensive huddle at times, which is absolutely amazing. It's very tough for young corners to read offenses, and the fact that he can do that is just great. However, every prospect has some weaknesses that we need to look at here. Again, as I mentioned, he suffered the season-ending toe injury in October. He sometimes has ball greed, which makes him susceptible to double moves, which means he sometimes goes for the ball. He's got that Trayvon Diggs in him, where sometimes they only go for that interception and they misread the route. And he can afford to be more aggressive, on run support, meaning he's not the best tackler of the running back. He gets blocked a bit easily, and he sometimes overruns in the open field, which leads him to miss tackles. And what we would be looking for in Will Johnson is a number one corner for years to come. And right now, the Rams' number one corner is Darius Williams. So looking at that, Darius Williams this past season, 12 games, only 1 interception, only 1 tackle for loss, which is okay. Corners aren't really making tackles at the line of scrimmage. 31 solo tackles. I like Darius Williams. He's also getting older. He's sneakily 32, part of the Super Bowl team. I think quite underrated in the grand scheme of the NFL. But this is what Will Johnson should look to do as a rookie. We don't want to put too many expectations on him right away, with Darius Williams, in my opinion, being the number one cornerback for the Rams. But the room right now is just so thin that corner is a position of need for the draft, as Josh talked about on Monday, and I am talking about today. So yeah, please like this video if you think that the Rams should draft Will Johnson or trade for Jalen Ramsey. It is very important they get a corner, and if you agree, like the video. And that is all for this episode of Rams Digest. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell. You do not want to miss what we have planned for Thursday's first round. Big moves for the channel, expansion coming, a lot of big things coming. Make sure you stay tuned. Like this video if you believe the Rams should draft a corner, and comment down below what you think a trade package for Jalen Ramsey could look like, or if you even want the Rams to trade for Jalen Ramsey. I want to know. I'll be responding as always. I appreciate every comment. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time for another episode of Rams Digest.